D&D 4e, even today, is probably one of the most divisive editions. It had a lot of good ideas, but its execution was questionable. I know on my end I realized that it's a game that's just not for me, and I was maybe too harsh on it when it came out. That being said, even then there was one mechanic that was really interesting, and I'm glad to see it does make a return in the 2024 rules update. The Bloodied condition. For the unfamiliar, Bloodied was a condition that was introduced in 4e, however has been brought back. Both in 4e and the current rules, a creature is bloodied when they reach half hit points. That's what it is at its most basic. It's a very simple way to communicate to everyone at the table that someone is looking rough. However, 4e had an added element to it, where some abilities, be it PC or monster, would specifically activate. Probably the most infamous of this would be the gnolls.
Regular gnoll.
Depending on the gnoll you were using, you would get different effects. If the gnoll marauder was bloodied, they would get an increase in their damage output, as well as an additional attack. Meanwhile, if the gnoll demonic scourge bloodied a creature that turn with a melee attack, it can have an ally adjacent to the target attack the same creature. In 5e terms, think of this as the Battlemaster's commanding strike to a degree. Though it should be noted, the demonic scourge also got the increase of damage if it was bloodied. For me, this was one of the more interesting mechanics within 4th edition, because it made fights interesting. Suddenly hit points became more than just a ticking clock until you were down to 0. Keeping allies above half HP was important to avoid the possibility of new abilities cropping up, as well as making sure that if a target was bloodied, that they were taken out quickly. And this is a mechanic that can work narratively. For gnolls, they gain the scent of blood, be it on them or an enemy, and they go into a frenzy of sorts. So how can we apply that to 5th edition? Well, from the sounds of it, with the monster manual tease, it does sound like they are bringing back this mechanic.
You're going to find monsters that have things triggering within their stat blocks when they're bloody.
As to whether or not it would look similar to how it is in 4e, or if it'll even be used as frequently, that does remain to be seen, because at the time of recording, we don't have that book yet. Still, how do we implement it fully? Well, the good news is, this is probably one of the easiest concepts to port on over. You can straight up just use the ones mentioned above. You can also give some minor class abilities, such as a bugbear entering into a rage like a barbarian, gaining additional damage and resistances, but also potentially attacking recklessly all the time. Not to mention, you can just borrow abilities from different monsters, which the 2024 DMG has those straight up listed out. Another option is to grab the Monster Vault from Tales of the Valiant and Fleet Mortals. Both can be used in your 5e games and have similar types of mechanics. Tales of the Valiant with Blood Frenzy. When a creature who has this ability attacks someone who doesn't have all their HP, that creature makes an attack with advantage. Fleet Mortals, it will vary from monster to monster, but to keep the theme of gnolls going, the Abyssal Archer knows the location of anyone who doesn't have all their HP within 60 feet. Again, being rather thematic that the gnoll can smell blood and is attracted to it. So the Bloody condition is probably one of the easiest ways to make a fight memorable, because it introduces a new level of strategy into the fight that the party now has to navigate that they didn't before. Not to mention, gives the party a clue that they are close to downing it, which fits with their character knowledge, and also adds a narrative element about a monster that you maybe didn't have before. And that'll do it for this video, folks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.